Welcome back to the Retirement Income Show. Today we're talking about the 5 things you need to look for in a financial advisor. We talked about how you need an advisor that specializes in retirement, who is an educator and a coach, and one who doesn't use just cookie-cutter financial strategies. And lastly, one who works with individual bonds. Now, let's talk more about those individual bonds. Earlier I mentioned they come with 2 important guarantees that you're not going to get with bond funds. So what are these guarantees? Well, the first one is repayment of the face value when the bond matures, providing there's no defaults or bankruptcies. Secondly, a guaranteed dollar amount of interest over the payment for the life of the bond. First, you get all your money back if you hold it until the bond matures. You'll get it regardless whether the bond value drops on paper during that time, as long as you hold it to maturity, even if the bond market goes up and down. Second, you get interest in the form of interest and dividends at a guaranteed fixed rate during the life of that bond, regardless of any ups and downs in the financial markets. That income is the return on your investment. It comes in the form of interest and dividends rather than a return in the form of growth through capital gains, as it would with a mutual fund or other growth-based financial strategies. Obviously, that's income that you can use to achieve your financial retirement goals. But it also is income that you can potentially use to reinvest in other income strategies to grow your portfolio organically. But what does all this have to do with the 5th thing you should look for in a financial advisor? Well, that 5th thing, as you may recall, is to look for an elite financial advisor. The good news is that when you find an advisor who specializes in individual bonds and bond-like instruments, you found your elite advisor. The reason why most advisors offer only growth-based strategies is that investing for income is a much more specialized field. And the growth-based approach is actually simpler. It's easier to offer just a handful of cookie-cutter strategies and let a computer determine which strategy is right for you. It's easier to just stick you in a bond mutual fund and let the fund manager do all the work. It's easier to be an order taker rather than an educator and a coach. It's easier to put that granny in the hot rod and take her money than to take a special order and get the car that's right for her. On the flip side, it's much harder to know how to actively manage a diversified portfolio of individual bonds and bond-like instruments, or a stock or a value-based stock dividend strategy for people with the right risk tolerance, of course. It's harder to work directly with clients to create and manage strategies that suit their specific needs and goals, a strategy that tackles all the challenges that are unique to retirement. It's more difficult for sure, but that's why you can be sure that when you work with an advisor that specializes in retirement and retirement income, they are very much so an elite advisor. He or she can help you choose and manage a strategy that's right for you. You can discover all that today by reaching out to us directly at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614. But right now, let's welcome back my friend and today's guest, David Scranton. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Wes. So I hear you and I agree with everything you typically say, including now, but I also know that you're not an extremist. You tend to be very reasonable in all of your approaches. So you and I know there are some times when a bond fund is actually appropriate. So I think it might make sense, take a minute, maybe share with your viewers, when that might make sense to actually have a bond fund.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, there's no just clear-cut approach every single time. A lot of times a bond fund is useful for folks that have less than, let's say, $150,000 or $200,000 when they're needing an income strategy, because you really need to diversify individual bonds. So what a bond fund does give you that's kind of a good quality is something that will produce income and diversify those smaller dollars. So a lot of times for folks that have 50, 75, 100,000, maybe a bond fund could be a right fit to diversify a portfolio and get some type of income. It's not the best way, because people that have over $200,000 and $250,000, which hopefully you have at least that much when you're entering in the retirement years, may be better off using those individual bonds. That's one scenario. Another one could be also to get involved more in the foreign bond market area as well.
Okay, foreign bonds, got it. Bottom line is the benefits of diversification for a small investor trump the lack of the 2 guarantees. So Got
exactly.
it.
Yep.
But you also talked about dividend-paying stocks. And today, as you know, dividend-paying stocks, if done right, can yield as much interest or dividends as bonds and bond-like instruments. But you always say when you talk about dividend-paying stocks, don't try this at home. Why is that?
Right, exactly. And I talked a lot about bonds. Bonds are just one of the income generating investments. Yes, dividend value stocks. So, growth stocks are actually easier to invest in because really you're just investing on the momentum. Buying an Amazon or an Apple, you're just investing in the momentum of the markets. But if you're investing in a dividend value stock, you really got to know the company. You got to make sure, because you're investing it for the dividend, to make sure that they're going to continue paying those dividends. So you got to take a deeper dive, understand that company, understand that sector, to make sure that they're not maybe at the tail end to where you're going to have some issues with those dividends. So it can actually be more complicated to get into those types of dividend paying stocks, which is why you need an advisor that specializes in that field, that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's what you often refer to as a value trap if you get into a value-based stock.
Exactly.
Too late in its business life cycle where it's starting to decline, the price is going down, the dividends are getting cut, and so on. So
that's right.
Work with a professional to avoid value traps. Got it.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, thanks, Dave. It was great to talk to you again today. And lastly, I'm Wes Wood, the Income Guy. And if you have any questions about the things that we've covered in today's show, please reach out to me at retiretv.com or by calling 855-776-0614. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to tune in next week.
A fiduciary is someone legally obligated to act in your best interest. Doctors, lawyers, and some financial advisors are fiduciaries, but not all. When you work with Wes Wood and his team at Wood Financial Group, you are working with fiduciaries. They help clients create customized investment portfolios based off their retirement goals. If you're ready to work with a fiduciary, visit retiretv.com and schedule a free, no-obligation conversation with Wes or a Wood Financial Group advisor.
Hi, I'm Wesley Wood, host of the Retirement Income Show, and I'm founder and president of Wood Financial Group. And we're a local independent financial services company that specializes in creating custom retirement solutions tailored to meet your particular needs.
Visit retiretv.com to learn how we can help you create a customized retirement portfolio.